So let's just jump right in. The following table gives the Consumer Price Index CPI for selected years from 1945 to 2009. Complete parts A through C below and click on the little symbol to view the table for the CPI. Now I've already clicked it and here we can see it. We're going to create a scatter plot of the data with X equals to the number of years after 1945. So you notice in my calculator I've already done stat edit and put everything in the list. You'll notice I put my 0 year for 1945. And so from there, 1950 will be 5, 10, 15, and so on. I did notice I made a mistake, and I did want to show you if you do make a mistake kind of early on and you don't want to retype the entire list. So I'm going to highlight where that mistake is. So 15, 21 is good. 29.6 is where the mistake is. I really need a 26.8 there. So I'm going to hit second insert. And it's DEL, but above it, it says insert there. And now I can actually type in that 26.8. It puts in a 0 placeholder there and shifts everything down. So I don't have to retype everything and just type in that number, hit enter to execute it. And again, everything is in there. I'm double checking to make sure it's all correct. It is. They line up perfectly. So we're going to create our scatter plot. So we're going to go to second, y equals. We're going to turn our scatter plot on, number 1 there. And that will take us into the menu. We're going to say on. We're going to make sure that the scatter plot is selected for our type. Our X list is our list 1. Our Y list is what list 2. I choose the mark of whatever mark you want. And I chose the color magenta. Again, those of y'all that have a TI-83 or 84, you will not have that choice. I'm going to go hit Y equals, make sure nothing is in here. Plot 1 should be highlighted because we just turned it on. And then I'm going to hit zoom 9. And that's going to take us to our nice, lovely scatter plot there. Now, we're going to create a model with this, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and make sure the model gets in there so I can plot it as well. So I'm going to hit Stat. I'm going to go over to Calculate, and I'm going to do a cubic model, so we're number 6. And then we're going to say List 1, List 2, leave the frequency list alone, and I'm going to put this in Y1 with an unrounded version. So I'm going to hit Second, Trace number 1 for Y1 to pop in there, and then I'm going to click Calculate, okay? And from here, you're going to go ahead and see that lovely model, and we're going to round it to 5 decimal places. Okay, so here you can see that rounded model there. Now, just a quick word for my TI-83s. Please understand that you can also do the Y1 in there as well. And what that does is you need to hit comma, and then you're going to hit vars, arrow over to Y vars, number 1 for function, and then 1 for Y1. And then you'll get to this. It looks just like that now, and you'll hit enter, and you'll get that same model. Notice I did need to be a little careful with the scientific notation with the model, and I did round my model to 5 decimal places. Now, the problem is in part C, it said use the function to estimate the CPI in 2015, and they told us not to round until the final answer. So if I round it up here, I'm going to get a wrong answer. And if I actually use the modeled function that we've just done and plugged into Y equals, it will be the unrounded version. So if I go into Y equals, you should see the entire thing again, also with that e to the -4, x to the 3rd there, whereas I've rounded it here. So I'm going to actually hit graph and notice that it does plot my points as well as my nice, lovely model. And I'm going to have it tell me what it is in 2015. Now, remember, I can't type in 2015. I need to change it into an X number. So 2015 minus my 0 year, which is 1945, is going to give me 70. So I'm going to hit second, trace, number 1 for value here. And then I'm just going to type in 70 and enter. And it should find out where X equals 70 on the equation on that model there, and it tells me that Y value that comes back out. Now notice that is 236.0. If I had used the rounded model, and I'm going to do some quick second entries because I've already re-entered it in there more than once. So let me go ahead and here I have it already entered in, okay, into the rounded model, and I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to use my function notation. So alpha trace number 1 and then 70. So you guys can see that if you actually take the unrounded model versus the rounded model, you're going to get 2 different answers, and it can mean whether or not you get the answer right or wrong. So be very careful. If it says do not round until you get to the very end, make sure that you do the function notation one where we hit that second trace and number 1 for value when we were looking at the graph. Okay, and so my answer is actually 236.